Coming to you from Denver, Colorado, home of RE/MAX World Headquarters. It's Adam Contos, CEO of RE/MAX with Start With a Win. Producer Mark, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing so good.
Awesome. I love it. We have an amazing guest on today, Mark. You ready to get into this, buddy?
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Awesome. All right. Well, our guest today, we are honored to have on General Martin E. Dempsey, the 18th chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, named one of Time Magazine's most influential people. General Dempsey retired in October 2015 after 41 years of military service. Now he teaches leadership and public policy as a Rubenstein Fellow at Duke University and serves as chairman of USA Basketball. General Dempsey is co-author of the best-selling leadership book, Radical Inclusion: What the Post-9/11 World Should Have Taught Us About Leadership. And General Dempsey is the author of the new book, No Time For Spectators. I love that title. The lessons that mattered most from West Point to the West Wing. General Dempsey, welcome to Start With a Win.
Thank you, Adam. It's good to be here with you.
You bet. And I want to start with thank you for your service. I mean, it's general. I mean, being a general, this is rare air we're talking about here. There are very few people that make it to chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and general in the United States military. I mean, you impacted so many lives over your career, both domestically and internationally. And we thank you for your leadership. So thank you so much for your service and leadership over the 41 years.
Well, thanks for saying that. I mean, I always considered it more a humbling privilege than anything that would allow me to dwell on it for too much, actually.
Well, I want to ask you to reflect a little bit, General. During the 41 years, how did your regard for leadership begin and evolve during your service? I mean, it's clearly, as a second lieutenant, is different than your view of leadership as a general. How did that evolve and change during that time frame? Yeah,
that's such a rich question that I'm going to kind of cherry pick a few moments to try to illuminate it. As I reflect in the book, one of the things that started me down this path of trying to be the best leader I could be was an English professor at West Point when I was a freshman or plebe, who at the end of a lecture, he said, I wish you the quality of a felt life. And it really bothered me that I didn't understand what he was talking about. But what I eventually, came to appreciate is that he was essentially saying to all of us, don't get swept along. Don't mail in your contributions. Feel them. Feel what it means to be a leader, and never forget that feeling. The high, when it makes you feel good, when things are going well and you're succeeding, and don't ever forget what it feels like when things don't go so well. And then the second thing was, early on in my career, I had the occasion, it was easy to kind of write off a handful of your soldiers if they didn't, completely align with what you were trying to accomplish in your unit. When I came to grips with the fact that probably my most important responsibility as a leader is to build a sense of belonging, it kind of opened up that aperture for me to see that if that's right, that the primary responsibility of a leader is to build a sense of belonging, then you can't write people off. Now, some of them will opt out themselves, but from that point on, they were going to have to quit me. I wasn't going to quit them. And, a lot of them did through the years, but more didn't. When I retired, I wanted to write a book about leadership. And so I did. I wrote a book about leadership, co-authored it with a gentleman named Ori Brafman from Berkeley. And I liked it. But when I finished it, I realized that there was something missing, and I wasn't exactly sure what. I came to realize pretty quickly what I realized was that I had written a book about what it takes for men and women to be the best leaders they can possibly be. But I hadn't said a word about the fact that you spend most of your career, even the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, you spend most of your career as a follower. but nobody wants to. If I titled the thing, be the best follower you can be, they would still be sitting at Barnes and Noble or on Amazon. That's not going to turn anybody's head walking through the airport. And so I thought that what I needed to do was kind of find a metaphor, to capture the idea that we're all in this together, the leaders and those who follow them. We all have something to contribute. And in fact, if we don't both contribute, we're not going to get done what we need to get done. And even if we get it done, it's not going to make the organization better. So I came up with No Time for Spectators, the idea being we're all in this thing together. And, the old Teddy Roosevelt, man in the arena, well, we're all in the arena now. And so that's how I came upon that idea. And there's a really good John Madden quote, and it said that, leaders have to look for the things that they don't want to see, and they have to listen for the things that they don't want to hear. And I thought, wow, how timely is that? Because I think what happens in missions, or that's a military term, but even in tasks that languish and linger, I think what happens is you lose the ability to look for things you don't want to see and listen for things you don't want to hear. And there's a certain momentum that builds up. Sensible skepticism shouldn't threaten us, either as leaders or followers. But I do think over the course of time, sometimes it does threaten, the idea that someone would question my work, I think it does bother some people. And then on the responsible rebelliousness, that one came to me because, if you look at our history, the history of any big organization, generally speaking, real innovation only happens when somebody pushes on the edges of the box in which, we're all sitting. But I felt like there should be some boundaries established. I just don't want rebelliousness. You're never going to see rebelliousness on an organizational chart of values. But I did think that if I could find a way to define what responsible rebelliousness looked like, and notably that if I could define it such that it's something that an individual does inside an organization, not for their own self-aggrandizement or their own self-advancement, but rather for the good of the larger organization, then you could find a case where you might actually encourage a little bit of it. And if someone sees a way to change a process or change something about the way the organization is operating, and they know they can because the senior leaders will accept a little rebelliousness if it's done responsibly, then the organization is going to be a better place to work, and it's going to produce better results.
This is amazing, General Dempsey. I appreciate you being on here. I have one final question that I ask all of our guests on Start With a Win. And General Dempsey, that is, how do you start your day with a win?
So one of my best friends in the military, a guy by the name of Admiral Bill McCraven, who honestly, one of maybe our finest special forces officer, he's an admiral, I think that we've ever had. Well, he gave a commencement speech at the University of Texas, and subsequently wrote a book about it. And the title of the book is Make Your Bed. And the underlying theme is that if you start your day by making your bed, you've accomplished something that day, and you just go on and build on it from there. I would say to people, focus on the fundamentals. What's something fundamental to your organization or, wherever you find yourself, and get something done fundamentally in your day and make people feel like they're important. And if you do that, you'll always start your day with a win.
Focus on the fundamentals. That's one of the best answers I've ever heard, General. So thank you so much. General Martin E. Dempsey, 18th Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, one of Time Magazine's most influential people. Thank you so much for being on Start With a Win. Everybody, be sure to check out General Dempsey at generaldempsey.com and his book, No Time for Spectators, The Lessons That Mattered Most from West Point to the West Wing. General, thank you for being on today.
And thank you for listening to Start With a Win. If you'd like to ask Adam a question or tell us your Start With a Win story, give us a call, leave us a message at 888-581-4430. So go to startwithawin.com and, until next time, Start With a Win. I got a question for you. What made you want to get into the military back all those years?
The story's in the book, but I absolutely didn't want to go in the military. I mean, I just didn't. I entered in 1970, right on the back end of the Vietnam War, which was clearly an unpopular war at that point. And so I didn't really have any desire at all. But I got an appointment. And by the way, the class that I joined, class of 1974, which went on to do pretty good, but it is reputed to be the easiest class in the history of the academy, which has been around since 1802. It's reputed to be the easiest class in history to get into because we were having a hell of a time recruiting. But I got the appointment, and I told my mother, and my mother got the telegram, so I couldn't hide it. And she said, "Isn't this wonderful?" I said, "No, it's not wonderful at all. I'm not going to do that." And she said, "Yeah, you are." And I said, "No, I'm not." She cried, and I went. And that's pretty much the story.
Wow. That's really cool. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for hanging out with us and sharing some gold.
Yeah. Well, good luck with the podcast. Good luck with the book, and we'll keep the leadership conversation going.
Thank you, General. We appreciate your service, and we appreciate you and your time today. So thank you so much. Bye.